What is new is that whereas people were technically required to stay home other than basic needs, they are now encouraged to stay home. But if they get out, just follow good sanitation practices. Employers may open on Friday, May 1st, subject to sanitation and social distance guidelines. Retail stores, this was probably the biggest thing. And I think one of the areas where there was quite a bit of push to make this happen. All retail stores can open Friday, subject to 50% occupancy and social distancing and sanitation rules. So that's big news for retail stores. Beaches, which is going to be particular to this discussion we're having today, where public beaches and private were closed for all purposes. They are now open to get no gatherings of no more than 10 people and must maintain 6 feet of separation. And then medical procedures, they've opened up that a little bit, whereas before it had to be deemed necessary. What didn't change, and I'm going to fast list this, entertainment venues are still closed, nightclubs, theaters, bowling alleys, athletic facilities such as fitness centers and gyms, close contact service providers like barbershops, hair salons, nail salons, and tattoo services. Those are all still closed until May 15th. And Brian, I don't know if you heard, but I don't think they officially announced that they're going to open them on May 15th. They're going to revisit on May 15th, but I'm assuming that provided that the curve is still going down, there's at least a decent chance that may change at that point. So all that said, that's the framework for what we're going to talk about today. For those of you all just joining, again, I'm Josh Null with Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. I'm a financial advisor based here in Fairhope. I serve Baldwin County, Mobile County, and many clients along the Gulf Coast. Brian Harris is the owner of Harris Real Estate and Harris Vacation Rentals, and he manages multiple properties along the Gulf Coast, Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, and then Lower Alabama down in Foley, and has multiple years of experience both on the investor side for people that own the property and looking for property management, and also on the buying side for investors or even single buy people that are looking for property along our beautiful Gulf Coast. So Brian, I'm restating that because when I redid the record earlier, I missed the beginning intro there. So
sure, no problem.
So what we're going to do today, y'all, is Brian has a pretty substantial or pretty impressive presentation he's going to go through. It's going to give you an update on really what investors need to know about what's going on down here, especially if you all missed my intro. Baldwin County, where we are situated along the Gulf of Mexico in the bottom part of Alabama, is one of the fastest growing counties, not only in just the state of Alabama, but in the United States. So we have a lot of people interested in the real estate down here. And then, of course, in my role as a financial advisor in the area that I'm located in, most of my clients have some type of real estate in their portfolio. So it makes sense. We bring them on and we get this thing going. Brian, how you doing?
We are good here. Actually got a chance to film this interview at one of the properties on the coast. This property is called Barefoot. I was actually down here doing a couple inspections this morning. And I'm glad that you read that announcement from Governor Ivey. I've only gotten that news through a couple of text messages, so I hadn't gotten the full story yet. So I'm glad that you've kind of updated us all on that. That actually just happened a few minutes ago. We actually bumped our interview back just so we'd have that news from Governor Ivey. One thing real quick I wanted to do, and just to kind of reiterate what Josh said, we are a full real estate brokerage. We have a property management division that's specific to the vacation rental industry. And then we also have a full real estate brokerage. So we're looking at things today from the real estate sales brokerage side, and we're also looking at things from the investor vacation rental side. We'll be going over both of those items. Before we jumped in real quick, I don't know if this will work or not, but I'm going to actually spin my computer around so y'all can kind of get a view of what I'm seeing here at Barefoot. So bear with me. This is the kitchen, but I'm going to try to let y'all see if you can still hear me. The waves crashing out there, the beach. And that's where I just kind of want to start this presentation. Just kind of reminding everybody that this is a beautiful stretch of land. The Gulf Coast is just a magical place. This is the picture that people put on their mantle, and that's not changing. People still want to come down here. We're going to talk about the bookings that we've had this month in a few minutes. But this is still a really magical place. It's a place that people want to come and bring their family. It's still a great investment. So we're going to work through all of that. Our focus today is going to be more on the homeowner side. So those that have properties that they own currently, we're not touching as much on the investor side. We'll do that in a following presentation, but this is more for, I have a home right now. What do I need to know? What do I need to do? So I'm going to share the screen, and then I'm going to start these slides. Let's see here. I think this will work. And Josh, I appreciate you talking nice about our presentation. It's only because Autumn worked on it that it's so nice. So great job, Autumn. Thank you for your help yesterday. All right, so this is another picture of Barefoot. This is a quote that I actually heard from a friend of mine, Seth Sanders, just a couple of days ago. They got to come down and stay at Barefoot for about 5 nights. And one of the things he said while we were together is, being here, I almost forgot all of this was going on. And I think that just kind of summarizes what this area can do. I mean, that's what vacations are all about. That's not going to change. Getting to the coast, getting into the sun, letting the kids play in the pool. That's what these places are about, and getting away from any of life's stress. And that's, obviously right now with this COVID-19 pandemic is forefront of all of our minds. But whenever there's, stress in your life, coming down to the coast is a great place to be. So thanks, Seth, for letting me use that quote from just a couple of days ago. So first off, just want to overview the presentation. The first thing we're going to talk about is the current real estate market. We're going to take that into 2 different areas. We're going to tell some stories of some actual real estate transactions that have happened in the last few weeks or are currently in progress. And then we're going to dive into some stats to kind of show you what the market looks like right now. The next thing we're going to do is just look at the vacation rental market, just a quick update, specifically looking at what's happened this month of April. And talk about the beach closures and reopenings, which is what Josh just told us about. And then we're going to dig into, what do we do now? If you're a vacation home owner, if you're looking to sell a vacation home that you own, or if you're possibly in a distressed situation, what are the steps that you need to take to do next? So we're going to jump in to market stories. So we're going to tell 3 stories today. And I'm not seeing pictures on this one. That's all right. This is the 3 that we're going to talk about are Journey's End. That was a closing that happened at the beginning of April. This was full tilt COVID-19 coronavirus crisis. There were masks being worn at the closing. So the whole thing. Under contract, a Turquoise Place unit. If y'all aren't familiar with the Turquoise Place, that's a very high-end condo. This is a $1 million plus deal. Just went under contract a few days ago. Under contract, Junaluska's Landing. This is another property that I personally own, that I'm selling. It's been an investment property for me. It's an investment property for the next buyer, under contract on the 26th, just a few days ago. Journey's End. So Journey's End was a property that we had for sale. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, newly remodeled. This is going to be a primary home from a family from Atlanta. This went under contract back in February and closed, like I said, full tilt COVID-19 crisis, early April. Okay. I was 100% sure this deal was going to fall through. I called the agent and they said, no, they want to do it. They are moving from Atlanta. So they want to get to the coast and start, this new chapter of their life. They were very excited to close. This was price point, mid 300s. This was a traditionally financed property, and those details will be pertinent here in just a few minutes when I'll explain. So that's the first story that we're going to tell in real estate today. So that's the story of Journey's End. Now we've got Turquoise Place. Again, this is a extreme uber luxury property. This is a condo complex in Orange Beach, probably one of or the premier condo complex on the Gulf Coast, Alabama or Florida. This property is a $1.7 million plus transaction. This is going to be a non-rental. This is not an investment for this buyer. This is a non-rental. What was the catalyst? They were looking for an East Corner unit. They've been looking for over 12 months, and then they found one, and they bought it. They're pulling money out of the stock market, and they're also looking at other investment properties. Okay. So that's story number 2, Turquoise Place. The third story is Junaluska's Landing. Okay, this is another property that my wife and I own out in Fort Morgan. This property, we were getting aggressive with the pricing on this to try to get it sold. We're kind of in the 280 price point. I don't want to get too many details. This is a current transaction. This is a teacher and realtor from Tennessee. This is going to be a second home and maybe a little bit of rental, so they're going to kind of defray some of that cost. This is a cash transaction, and they're boaters. They're excited about putting a boat lift in and getting out here as a vacation spot for their family. So why did I want to tell those 3 stories? I wanted to tell those 3 stories because real estate is a story-based industry, right? People buy investment properties, primary homes, and vacation homes. And one of the things that I wanted everybody to understand is they're still doing that. Okay. They're still making investments. They're still buying second homes. They're still buying primary homes to start new chapters in their families' lives. And that hasn't stopped. And it's not stopping. So anybody that thinks or has heard that the real estate market is in shambles or nothing's happening, that's not true. And we're going to look into some stats now to kind of show us what the trends are so that you can kind of see what the real picture is. And the stats that I'm going to show you and everything that I've focused on is the actual coast. Okay, so the stats are coming from Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. Obviously, these 3 transactions were all on the coast, so that's what we're focusing on. If we want to do another episode, we're kind of talking about the Eastern Shore over on Mobile Bay. It's more primary home focus. We can do that at another time. Excuse me. So the current market update, and now we're going to talk about stats. We're going to talk about new listings, talk about closed transactions, listings that have gone pending, and then price changes. So new listings in the market, and this is week to week. Okay, this is Friday around to Thursday each time. And we're going back to March 27 is our first week. Okay, so these are new listings. So we don't see a tremendous amount of change, but we are seeing an uptick this most recent 7-day period that started April 17th. So not a ton of change there, but a significant little bump there at the very end and that last week. So we do have new listings, new inventory hitting the market. And again, this is all coastal Gulf Shores and Orange Beach stats here. So the next graph that we're going to show are closed transactions. So obviously in a real estate situation, even going under contract in a pending environment, you're going to have at the very minimum probably at least 2. That's a really, really quick deal out to 4, 6, 8 weeks sometimes. So these are closings that have been in the works for some time. So And Josh, you jump in here if you have questions or want me to pause on a certain segment here. But these are closed transactions. We can see that there's not a whole lot of movement up or down. It's very consistent. Okay. And what does that tell you? The story behind the stat is that things are going along fairly normally. Okay. Obviously, we're doing a lot of different things with showings. Obviously, we're doing a lot of things with listing presentations and talking with our clients. We're using Zoom and we're using FaceTime and we're doing all those things to keep everybody safe. But transactions are still happening. Things are still closing. And that's a key thing to remember. Pending and under contract. Okay. So these are listings that a buyer has come and said, all right, I want to buy that. They've talked about price and all the other details, and now they have a contract. Okay. Now this property is pending. So here we can see a big change. We've got first week, very steady. Second week, very steady. Third week is at least 100% more. And then the fourth week, we're seeing another big jump. So what we're seeing is as we're going through this, we're getting more transactions to go under contract. And a lot of people have thought, okay, well, this is going to put a halt on everything. So we really should have been seeing those numbers go down, but we actually are seeing the numbers go up. There are more people in the market. There are more people making solid offers to buy properties. And that's the stories that we just saw with those 3 transactions. People still have a reason to purchase. They still want to purchase. Some of these are financed. Some of these are cash. Some of these are investment. Some of these are just our primary home. There's all kind of different reasons people are buying. There's all kind of different reasons people are selling. So the market is healthy because there are buyers and there are sellers. And what I want people to understand, if you own a property, you don't have to think that there's no buyers out there to do anything. If you need to sell or if you want to sell, there are buyers out there that want to buy. If you want to buy, there are sellers out there that want to sell. So it's a very healthy market right now, even though you might be getting different information in other places. Okay. So here's another one now, and this is our price change graph. Okay, so this is in our MLS system. I can go in and look at, okay, when did somebody change a price? All right, and we see consistent, and then we see a big spike in this fourth week. Okay, and if you'll remember, and I almost wanted to like get a little video clip of our presentation from a couple of weeks ago. One of the key things that I said is I feel like there's going to be a trickle of price reductions in the next 2, 4, 8 weeks. And this is what we're seeing. And we don't know if we'll see this trend continue or not, but we see a very big spike in price, what I would consider reductions. It is price changes, so it could go up or down, but I would assume most of these are price reductions. In this past week. So this is the past 7-day period. And we'll continue to update these stats as we go forward. But I think what we're seeing is so the week of April 17th is about a month back to mid-March where all of this kind of hit. So what I'm seeing here is that it's taken about a month for people to start saying, okay, I'm going to come back to the kitchen table and I'm going to see where are we and how badly do we need to sell this property. And what my assumptions are, what I'm getting the story behind the stat is people are saying, hey, let's get a little bit more aggressive and let's try to get this property, under contract. And we just saw back here, pending and under contract, that we do have a lot of properties coming on under contract, and we do have a lot of activity in the market. And remember, this is just the coastal market. So that I feel like is something that we talked about 2 weeks ago, and now we're seeing it play out in the stats here. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. Okay, so I want to shift gears a little bit here. And Josh, do you have any questions or anything?
I do, Brian, on that price change related to closings, those two numbers being so copacetic, do you think there's a possibility that, and I know you can't x-ray it all the way through, but just from a 30,000 foot view, what that seems to me is there was a handful of properties that were being pursued before all of this went down. They made a price change and probably went to close or probably went under contract very quickly thereafter. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that's a very fair assessment. And, we have to try to, tell the story behind the stats here. And that's exactly when we talked about the Junaluska property. That's one that my wife and I actually own together. And that's exactly what we did. We had that, price point a little higher up in the low threes, and we weren't getting a ton of activity. We moved it down. Then we said, hey, let's really get a little bit more aggressive. We moved it down another bump, and it's almost like fishing. It's like that one didn't work, but that one did. And then as soon as we got it down a little bit more, we got some good attention on it. Actually had two people looking to purchase it at the very end there. So yeah, I think that's, people are moving price down, and that's triggering buying, activity. And that's when we're going under contract. So I think it's very correlated. All right, so let's shift gears just a little bit. We're going to talk about the rental market. So this graph here, I'm calling a tale of two Aprils, okay? So we're going to see two distinct trends. I'm going to actually blow this graph up a little bit so we can see it a little bit clearer. The first half, all right, the left side of the screen is the first 13 days of April. And you can see that this blue line, which is the current, so that's the blue line is the current booked reservations for that day. And the light blue line is the same day of the week last year, okay? So if it's a Monday, it's a Monday. If it's a Tuesday, it's a Tuesday. So you can see comparatively, we've got substantially fewer bookings happening on a very consistent basis the first half of April, okay? And then something changes, and this is what would normally would be just a random Tuesday in April, but something changed that day, and people started to book vacations. At least they started to book vacations with us, Harris Vacation Rentals. Because you can see on the 14th, we go from underperforming year over year to overperforming pretty consistently, or at least matching pretty consistently throughout the rest of the month. And what we saw is we saw a lot of last minute bookings, a lot of I'm coming down tonight, I want to come down tomorrow or this weekend. So people are making a lot of last minute reservations. And I think that tells us a couple things. People see the Gulf Coast as an escape from a stressful environment, be it they're home because they're self-quarantined, or they're working from home now, and they have the freedom to go somewhere else, anywhere with a good cell phone signal and a Wi-Fi connection, they can work. I'm in barefoot right now doing this webinar. I almost was unable to connect to the Wi-Fi, so we almost had to push it back again, but I rebooted my computer and we got going. But you can kind of work from anywhere in a lot of these occupations now. And so people are bringing their laptop and they're coming to the beach. So this obviously hasn't been updated with today's announcement. But what we were going to do when I did this slide yesterday was just talk about the possibility of Alabama opening its beaches. Now we obviously know that the beaches are opening. There are some social distancing and group capacity restrictions on that. But the beaches are coming back open. We've already seen bookings have increased. And I think that's really, really good news for those that are already in the vacation rental industry or have a property that is a rental because the demand's there, and now we get to actually match the supply with that demand.
And Brian, for those that maybe just joining us, the beaches went from closed for all purposes to, as of Friday, May 1st, open, except no gatherings of 10 persons or more, and people must maintain 6 feet of separation. So that's the rules on that.
Yeah, terrific news there, and we hope that the virus continues to be contained, and
Of course, that's
everybody.
Alabama beaches on your chart. I don't know what Florida has said, but we know.
Yeah, that's just Alabama. So that's just over here to this left side, Fort Morgan, Gulf Shores, and Orange Beach. We had more information about Florida beaches. That's why we put a lot of the Florida beaches counties on there. Yesterday we were just going to be speculating on the beach reopenings, but today we actually have accurate data. So that's terrific. All right, so I want to go real quick, and this is kind of the tail end of our presentation here. But this is kind of what do we do now? And I've got 3 distinct setups here. So one is a vacation home owner. They've never rented. It's not a rental. What should they do? The other is a vacation home seller. So this could be an investor that rented or not. They haven't had it listed, or maybe they have, but they've had the thought of selling. Okay, so what should they do now? And then we have another category of distressed homeowner / seller. So this is somebody that has had their property listed, or they've had something change in their life that's a drastic change. Maybe a spouse that was working is not working anymore. We don't know what that situation is, but there's some distress catalyst there that we've got to address, and what should they do? All right, so the first one is what to do now, vacation home owner, okay? You're not motivated to sell. You're not in a distressed situation. What should you do? First, I would say hold tight. If you haven't had plans of selling and there's no distressed situation, there's no catalyst to get you to reevaluate that, I probably would hold tight. As we've seen in the last couple of slides, prices are now starting to we're having more price changes. People are getting more aggressive on price. Now that's creating transactions, pendings, closings. That's good. It's a healthy market. But if you're not looking to sell, if you don't have to sell, then you probably don't want to sell in that market. If you have a non-rental, you might consider renting. Okay. The decisions you made 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 18 months ago may not be the same situation now. Okay. You might want to have a little bit more cash cushion. You might want to have a little bit more of those expenses defrayed, off of that investment. If you haven't been on a rental program, that might be something that you want to consider. Obviously, we'd love to have that conversation with you if you do. But there's a lot of great managers down here, and it's easier than ever to do it yourself. So we can certainly be a talking point or a counsel for you on that. If you do have a rental, are you self-managed or professionally managed? Okay, if you're self-managed, it may be a time that you want to be in a property management portfolio. What is that going to do? That's going to take stress off of you in a very stressful time. And a lot of times it'll actually bring you more, or at least net you the same rental revenue. When you look at your net rental, even with the management commission in there, the professional manager is able to market and price and facilitate that reservation better. And a lot of times you're able to net out the same or actually have more revenue at the end of the day with a reduced stress level. So that's something to consider. If you're already with a property manager, you've got to understand that this has been a very difficult time for property managers. There's a lot of property managers that, weren't prepared for this type of pause in the spring season, and that's been a struggle. So if you do have a property managed by a company, I think it's time to have conversations with that property manager and evaluate, that relationship. Is that something that's strong and you want to maintain, or is that something that's shown a couple of weak points here as we've gone through this stressful time? So that's kind of what to do if you're a homeowner, not a lot of distressing things happening. You just want to kind of know what your next moves are. More just, observing the situation in a practical manner in that regard. All right, what to do if you're a vacation home seller? Josh, did you want to pop in there?
Yeah, go back that one slide real quick. I would say that, what the news today, this slide right here probably has is being impacted as much as anything, because I mean, there was probably a lot of folks concerned that they were going to be held out another 2 weeks to another month or two, possibly even the whole summer. So I don't think we can, wave the flag and declare final victory yet. But I do think that a lifeline was given to this sheet here for the ones that were potentially getting under tremendous stress, and that goes back to your bookings, the booking one that you had earlier. I know that pertains to Harris Vacation Rentals, but you're probably at least somewhat of a bellwether for the entire industry down there. They're probably seeing a lot of turnaround mid-April on bookings. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I think it definitely, with the booking data that we saw, have that turning point in mid-April, and be consistent beyond that. And then the beach is reopening now. I think that definitely is a lifeline to a lot of people. But I think what I want to do is make sure that people are taking time to evaluate the situation and make sure that they're going to be okay. If you've been renting it, are you going to be okay if you're making, 80% of a normal year? Are you going to be okay if you're making 60% of a normal year? Put those numbers on paper. Let that, or let us help you do that. That's why we're here. We're professionals. We can help you walk through that and have that conversation. I told my owners at the very beginning of all this, I said, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know. But if you're going to be in a distressed situation with 50% of your expected revenue or the revenue you had last year, then call me and let's have that conversation. Because we don't know where it's going to be, but we got to kind of have a worst case scenario plan and go from there.
Well, Brian, also too, put this number on your chart as we roll through this. If there's any way to measure, does the professionally managed properties recover a little quicker than the do-it-yourselfer? And I'm not putting the do-it-yourselfer down by any stretch. I'm just talking about from a trust level from the buying public. I'm going to be curious to see how that plays out. Is there going to be a little bit more built-in trust from the buying public for a professional rental company? And I'm not trying to, sell you. You do a good enough job selling yourself. I'm just saying in general, I can speak personally for Jen and I. If we are coming down to a vacation rental, we're probably going to want to know the history of who is actually managing that, so that we don't feel like we're walking into, we're not unintentionally putting ourselves in some kind of a bad situation, if you will. So that was all.
Exactly. No, and I think that just goes back to, cleaning procedures and, a pre-arrival. And we had started doing pre-arrival checks just to make sure that everything was pristine. It was more from just a guest experience side. So we already had the infrastructure and the procedures of, one of our people's going in every house before every guest. And then this hit. And it basically, we were doing the same thing, but now we had a different main purpose. I mean, the main purpose wasn't to put, a little treat bag and a little thank you note for the guest staying. The main purpose became, we have to disinfect everything. Again, we've already had the cleaners come through and clean, but now we're going to take an extra level of precaution and we're going to disinfect. We had to go buy EPA certified, disinfectant, commercial grade cleaner to do these things. So yes, what level is that company going to professionally clean, disinfect, and make sure that everything is done before that guest gets there. That's key, and that might separate, you know, a do-it-yourselfer from a professionally managed, for sure. Okay, so back to kind of the what to do now. Vacation home seller. So this is somebody that's actively got their property listed for sale, and we touched on this group last time we talked, or they have had thoughts of selling their property. The caveat here is that they're not in a distressed situation. They haven't lost their job. Their spouse hasn't lost her, you know, their job. So there's not a distressed catalyst there, but it's just like, hey, we've had it listed. It was just time for us to sell, or I'm thinking about maybe it's time for us to sell. I think the biggest thing is to have a conversation with your real estate professional, or find a real estate professional that you trust. Maybe it's a prior relationship, or maybe it's us at Harris that we can come and have that consultation for you and say, you know, get a good sense of what the market valuation of your property is. A true sense, not a, what if we got the best offer ever, you know, but a true sense of what is the value of my property in the market right now. And do I want to pull the trigger on selling that? You know, is that a decision that I want to make? And then you're kind of in the same other, you know, section. So once you have that valuation sitting there, now you can go look at, okay, well, we do rent it, and, you know, last year we made X, but we might not make X this year. We might make, you know, X divided by 2, you know, half of X. So have that conversation with that professional, look at what that looks like, and see if, one, we either lower the price on the property that's currently listed, or 2, do we actually need to go ahead and pull the trigger on listing the property and getting it sold? Because right now it's all about, on a personal level, and I'm going to talk some business kind of, you know, things here, but on a personal level, we're looking at our cash flow. You know, businesses look at their cash flow with sales. Households look at their cash flow with, you know, the money coming in. Is that from a job, from, you know, contract work? What is it coming from? And has it been interrupted? And that's going to, you know, affect your ability to maintain the loans and things that you have, the assets that you have on your balance sheet there. So, and of course we can, you know, work through the valuation side on any of these properties, and then also the cash flow side on the investment and rental income as well. All right, distressed owner or seller. Okay, this is a category where something has happened to change your financial picture. Could be a layoff or a furlough, or you do contract work and there are no contracts right now. Whatever it is, something has rocked your boat, and we've got to figure out what to do. All right, the most important thing is that we've got to take action. We've got to make a phone call. We've got to send an email. We've got to find somebody to talk to that can work through this problem with us. And I think the other thing is to understand, and that's why I put it here, that remember, this isn't your fault. Okay, this isn't something that you did. This is just the situation changed. The scenario has been rewritten, and the investment that you made 18 months ago could have been a great investment 18 months ago, and it may not be a great investment now. Or your financial situation 8-10 months ago when you purchased this could be vastly different than it is now. And that's not your fault. It's just is what it is. And we need to make sure that we're having the conversations that we need to make sure that we're putting you ahead of the curve and not behind the curve. So taking immediate action is the number one thing. If you're in a distressed situation, make that phone call, get that ball rolling. That's going to be the hardest part, is to get started. The next thing, really the same as before, find a trusted real estate professional in your market. That could be a prior relationship. If that needs to be Harris, we're certainly able and willing to have that conversation with you. And then the next thing is be honest with your agent. Be honest with your agent about where your agent's working for you. We have a fiduciary duty to work for you in your best interest, but we can't do that if you don't give us the full picture. If it's bad, say, hey, this is bad. I need this to be sold in a week. That changes our framework. Okay, that changes our opinion about price. But if you're not honest with your real estate professional, they can't guide you along the path that you need them to. So be very honest and be as aggressive as you need to be on price. If you need it sold in a week, then we've got to price it to be sold in a week. And a lot of times, you know, in our brokerage, we'll go ahead and make calls to the agents that we know have buyers ready to go. And they'll know the property's coming before it even hits the market. And that's why you want an agent that's doing a lot of transactions, that's well connected, because we might have it sold before we even list it, making the right phone calls. And the other things are really the same. If it's a non-rental, you might consider renting it. That might alleviate some of the stress of cash coming in as you sell it, or it might be able, you know, to fund that without having to sell it. Josh, did you have anything?
No, I think, Brian, everything you laid out there, it's a nice compare and contrast to what we had 2 weeks ago. You know, we're gonna be posting this video again, and I think it would behoove people to maybe go back and watch the video from a couple weeks ago. Not that you could see into the future, but you had a pretty good grip on what we might see with the numbers as they were coming in, because quite honestly, we were flying by, I think they call it fly by wire. We were flying by wire 2 weeks ago, right? Now we've actually got some navigational tools. I'm pleasantly surprised and encouraged, to be honest with you. Now, I know some of the sale numbers and some of the numbers generated were a product of potentially prices being bumped lower, but just in the real estate market and my side of the industry, on the investment side, liquidity plays a huge factor. And when you don't have the movement of capital and the movement of people, both industries tend to suffer pretty quickly. So what you're seeing there is you're seeing liquidity. You're seeing properties get into the hands of people that can close in this type of environment, potentially bring in additional capital to the table, and potentially, you know, developing a whole entire new pool of investment property owners. So that's very encouraging. I think you take that and couple the notes that we got today with the opening with some restrictions of the beaches. I think as long as, I think what's been proven between last time and this time, Brian, is you're always going to have a certain percentage of the population that maybe doesn't necessarily follow the rules, and we get that. But I think everybody, including the leadership of the state, was pleasantly surprised that we're all a bunch of grown-ups and we weren't just out there, you know, hanging on each other in the beaches and at Walmart and things like that. So now we got an opportunity to go out there, enjoy ourselves to a certain degree, live our lives, and you know, enjoy the beach, the properties of our Gulf Coast. And I think as long as we can stay respectful of all that, you're going to see the numbers that you and I come back in here in a couple of weeks. Hopefully you see these numbers trending in that direction. So I'm encouraged. I wasn't discouraged from our last one, but I was definitely making sure both feet were planted and I was on stable ground, because quite honestly, I don't know the percentage, but I think it's probably 90% of my advisory clients are in real estate in some form or fashion.
In some way, yeah, for sure.
From an investor standpoint, at least the ones locally here, right?
And I think that you made a great point. If we had seen the price changes going up, but the closings and pending staying level,
right,
that would be scary.
That's right. That's what you would have you would have saw that in 2008 and 9. Is what you were saying.
Right. You've got sellers chasing, desperately trying to get a buyer to come, and they're not coming. That's scary. That's 2008 style. But what we're seeing right now, and we'll keep an eye on these, and we'll keep, you know, posting new numbers as we get them week after week. But what we're seeing is a healthy market. Is it more of a buyer's market? Yes, it is. It is a buyer's market right now. but we're seeing the market be healthy, even though it's tilting toward the buyer right now and not the seller. So,
But there's buyers available, and that's
there are buyers here. And just like we saw at the beginning with the three kind of stories, that's why I want to lay those out. We've got financed buyers. We've got $1.7 million purchases. I don't know if that's financed or cash. And we've got cash purchases and they're all at different levels.
right.
So we've got buyers at all different levels making these happen.
Right.
So I was very pleasantly surprised when I really started digging in this weekend and this week or Monday on what we found. Good news.
Good. Well, I tell you what, Brian, I'm gonna do my quick closing and disclose,
Sure.
and I would like you to wrap it up with all your contact. I know your contact info's there, but just reiterate why someone would reach out to you right now.
So the reason to reach out to us right now is if you have a property that you own that you're concerned about in any way, specifically, down here in our coastal market, the vacation industry, give us a call, visit our website, let us know how we can help. We're here, we're ready to have those conversations. If you have a distressed situation and you need to sell more quickly, like I said in the presentation, be honest up front with that. We can work with that and help. If you have a rental that you are concerned you're not getting enough revenue out of, or you don't feel like your current manager, or maybe you're doing it yourself, if that's working to its optimal potential, that's where we can help as well. And then if you're a buyer investor and you're looking to be in that buyer side, we didn't really talk about the buyer side right now as much, and we'll do that in a different presentation. But if you're looking to invest, and I've had a lot of conversations with, I don't want to be a buyer right now because I'll be the bad guy, and that's not true.
No.
Just like we saw, sellers need buyers, buyers need sellers.
Right.
We have to have both sides to make this market work. So we can certainly help in that regard as well.
Perfect. Well, you and I have, it's kind of funny, different industries technically, but everything you just listed are some of the reasons that people have been reaching out to me. I mean, honestly,
yeah,
we've got a lot of do-it-yourselfers, and I'm probably one of the few advisors that publicly says, I don't mind if you manage your own investments. I don't mind if you manage your own real estate. I've done both on my own. I think it's a great way to learn. Just what you see is what happens is when things are good, sometimes you have, as an advisor, you have a little bit of a decreased value. But when things happen like they've happened recently, maybe not even to that degree as recently, but it just shows you that sometimes it's nice to have some professional guidance alongside. That's all.
Sure.
So I think same with you. So I think it's a great story. I'm glad we're on the same, even though our businesses are not affiliated, we are definitely on the same team in helping our clients. I reach out to you with clients that have real estate questions, and off we go with that. So Brian, I'm going to do my quick disclosure, and then we'll wrap this up. Advisory services offered through Prime Capital Investment Advisors, a federally registered investment advisor. The preceding commentary and responses were the opinions of myself, Josh Null, and Brian Harris, are not necessarily the opinions of PCIA and are for informational and educational purposes only, are not and should not be considered investment advice. Past performance is no guarantee of future results, no guarantees expressed or implied. And if you need professional tax advice, you should seek a tax professional. So, Brian, with all that said, man, I think these are great. We'll probably keep our pulse on this about every 2 weeks. And, and then we're also, for those, we're going to be releasing this out on YouTube, on my website. And then, you've got a pretty substantial many platforms to put it out there as well. So
absolutely.
All right. Well, man, thank you for doing this again. This is good.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. This is great.
I learned a lot and I feel better. I tell you, honest to God.
Yeah, it's good news. It's nice of,
this affects my clients, man. This is important.
For sure.
So, all right. Thank you all that joined us. Very quickly, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out directly to Brian or I, and we'll get you answered right away. Email is probably the easiest, or just you can call. You see Brian's phone number right there. And then my number is 251-327-2124. Brian, man, thank you. Have a great day. And I'm going to go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
We'll shut this down.
All right.